Call meeting to order. Shelley, can you do roll call?
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. District 1, Councilman Rios.
Present.
District 2, Councilman Pastor.
Present.
District 3, Councilman Latham. District 4, Vice Mayor Stapleton.
Here.
District 5, Councilman Gonzalez.
Here.
District 6, Councilman Shipley.
Here.
Mayor Demaros is excused. Vice Mayor, we have a quorum.
Thank you, Shelley. Can you lead us in the leadership?
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. Let's pray. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, we just thank you for this evening. Heavenly Father, I pray that you would just bless each person here tonight and families they represent, Lord. I pray that you'd be with counsel and give them guidance, Lord, as they make decisions that affect our community, Lord God. We just thank you for this opportunity, and I pray these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Ready. Yes, sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We'll start off with the summary of current events. Mariano.
Oddly enough, I don't have anything tonight, sir.
Rhonda.
I'd like to welcome my mom and my stepdad here. They're visiting, so not here, but they're probably watching on Facebook. So
Anything else? Terry?
I have nothing, Mr. Vice Mayor. Thank you.
Mike?
nothing, Mr. Vice Mayor. Sorry about that.
6:15 is gonna do it. Wesley?
I don't have anything. Thank you.
Wow. Okay, I just have a few things. I'd again like to thank PD for everything that they do. Chief Walters, please extend my regards to your officers. They're always right on duty, right on call, so thank you again for everything you guys do. I appreciate it. Same with you, Chief. Again, you guys are on top of everything, so thank you, and please pass that along to your employees. Same with Public Works, Gary, and all your crew. John, phone call all the time is all it takes, so thank you. I appreciate it. Paul? That's all I have.
Vice Mayor, just one thing, I just wanted to thank a couple employees who saw a need. They responded even though they didn't need to have to, and took care of a couple things and made some people's lives better. And just wanted to thank them and let you know your staff is out there looking out after the residents of Globe. And that's all I have for you, Mr. Vice Mayor. And they know who they are.
Thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. All right, we go to our first community call to public. Any citizens desiring to speak on a matter that is not scheduled on the agenda may do so at this time. All you have to do is fill out a speaker card in the back and pass it along to Shelley, our clerk, and she'll run it up to us. Is there any cards, Shelley? Nothing at all. Okay. Thank you. Then we'll move on to special presentations and ceremonial matters. We have introduction of William Medford, new construction utilities inspector for the engineering department. Jerry?
Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the council, this is my new employee, Will Medford. I asked him to write a bio, and he wrote, "I am a legend."
Humble, I like that.
Oh, I wasn't supposed to.
Right.
Oh, I wasn't supposed to read that one. Okay.
Put it out there.
But now William come to us with a host of experience. He's actually worked as a fisherman on the Bering Sea. He's owned his own towing company. He's mechanic in a body shop. He worked at Freeport or Capstone? Capstone. So before he came to us, he's been in construction. He's doing a lot of the same things that we do right now. So he's a big addition to the city. I had international jewel thief and all that, but I don't see it on the list. But, no, he's been here a few months now, and we've really enjoyed William. You know, he's fun to work with, but he also knows what he's doing and does his job very professional. So, give you William.
Vice Mayor, Council, I prepared a PowerPoint. No, I'm just kidding. No, it's an honor to work for the city. We moved here last August. My wife works for the city as well. Globe has really taken care of us and our family, and we're just honored to serve the city and the citizenry here. So, thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome.
Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, it's kind of scary that they bonded so quickly. So, yeah. I worry.
All right, with that, welcome aboard. Is it William or Bill?
You call me Will.
Will?
Call him Jerry's Will, because there's another Will.
Jerry Jr.? or-
Jerry, yeah, it's Jerry's Will. We all know what we mean.
Welcome, thank you. With that, we'll go on to the consent calendar. Matters listed under the consent calendar are considered to be routine and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. Public hearing items are designated with an asterisk prior to consideration of the consent agenda. The mayor will ask whether any members of the public wishes to remove a public hearing item for separate consideration. Members of the council and or staff may remove any item for separate consideration. Item A, consideration of waiver section 2-4-10A, prior discussion rule, to allow action on the balance of the consent agenda. Accounts payable, $557,945, $557,945.37. Consideration of approval of council minutes. Consideration of February 3rd, 2020 strategic action plan meeting minutes. Consideration to approve the February 10th, 2022 special meeting. Consideration of agreements on purchases less than $25,000. Consideration to approve any Historic Advisory Preservation Commission recommendation of approval of a painted mural on canvas with an permanently affixed aluminum frame located at 465 North Broad Street, side of Western Reprographics facing toward Earth Mover Tires, with stipulation that the graphic be submitted and approved by staff. Consideration to approve the Historic Advisory Preservation Commission recommendation of approval with stipulation as recommended by the city staff for the I Love Art Globe mural celebration of Globe to be painted on the Diamond M Dental Building located at 198 West Oak Street. Consideration to approve the Historic Advisory Preservation Commission recommendation of approval for the celebration of Globe theme mural located at 138 South Broad Street, abutting the Dominion parking lot facing the train depot. Consideration to approve the Historic Advisory Preservation Commission recommendation of approval reproducing the recently lost Cactus Room mural located at 476 North Broad Street, facing the Hanging Tree exhibit. Consideration to approve the Historic Advisory Preservation Commission recommendation of approval to paint the front and north side of the Silver King building located at 491 North Broad Street, featuring local student murals. And then H, council consideration and possible approval of the fiscal year 21-22 second quarter distribution of bed tax funds in the amount of $13,799.08 to the Globe Miami Regional Chamber of Commerce to be paid from account number 10-51-51900, General Fund Community Organization, Globe Miami Regional Chamber of Commerce. Would anyone from the public, the council, or staff like to pull any item from the consent agenda for further discussion? Wow. Let me take a breath. Wow. Second. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda. We have a motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nays say nay.
I second
You did. Yeah.
Yes, you did. Okay.
Any nays say nay. Any opposing? Motion passes. We move on to new business. I told you, Paul, 6:15, dude.
I'm all for you.
We move on to new business. Item A, discussion and consideration of Resolution 1851, uncollectible water debt. Shelley, can you read Resolution 1851, please?
Yes, thank you, Vice Mayor. Resolution number 1851, a resolution of the Mayor and City Council of the City of Globe, County of Pila, Arizona, providing for treatment of certain debts owed the city which have been deemed potentially uncollectible, and removing same from the records as assets of the City of Globe and providing direction for further treatment of same. Is council pleased with that reading?
Yes. Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you, Shelley. Good evening, Vice Mayor and council members. I think I have a PowerPoint. Or maybe I am here to present. I'm sorry, Jody, I did not get you. Okay, that's all right. I'm gonna zip through this so fast you guys won't even miss the PowerPoint. So, it's the annual presentation for resolution to do the uncollectible debt or utility debts. Same basic steps we go through every year. We do our best to try to collect these, make phone calls, send notices, go through small claims if we have good addresses for these people. We don't have any addresses, obviously we can't send them anything, but we do attempt all phone numbers, references, every possible way to get them. So the total loss of utility revenue this year is $17,022.69. Still 0.1% of the city's water sales and sewer fees. Still about the same amount of accounts, 42 accounts. Difference this year is the period that we're writing off is July 1, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. This was during pandemic. We did not do water shutoffs for 9 months. So we do have a larger amount of write-offs. The amount that we figured was due to pandemic related or non-shutoffs for that was $7,914.86. There is another large amount for the accounts that have Arizona water and sewer and garbage only with the City of Globe, so we don't have a means to turn their water off. That amount was $5,084.32. So during the fee schedule update of 2017, we did include new fees to dig up sewer laterals and install valves to shut sewer off. That has not happened, and hopefully we will start that soon. In order to do that, there's a lot of information that has to go out. We have to send letters to the customers to give them the opportunity to pay that or set up payment arrangements. We have to notify Arizona Water that we're going to be doing that so they can turn the water off, and we'll have to also notify Health Department that we're going to be doing that so that people aren't living in unsafe conditions. So it is a lengthy process, but hopefully we'll be able to start that and we won't see these write-offs in the future because of that. Do you have any questions?
Ready?
Jody, I do have a question, and I don't need to know names, I see an account number, but I do see, compared to some of these others, I see a couple that are really substantial bills. And they're the last ones on your list. Do you have the list? So can you tell me, are those residential or those commercial?
Those are residential Arizona water customers.
And that's because of the sewer fees as well?
There's also another one, about the fifth one down at the top. That's also one in the southern area. So three of those it's three accounts that make up that $5,000 that are Arizona water customers.
Maybe at some point we can have a conversation regarding a proposed agreement that we talked about probably over a year ago.
Yeah, I think, we were talking about that through the pandemic. Let's revisit that.
Okay,
And that would help us out.
I think that would help the situation.
Anything else, Jody?
No, and I just,
No, you're fine.
okay.
Any other questions?
I have a question
Mike?
for the city manager. Is there any way we can use some of the federal ARPA money to
Well,
make up these funds?
one of the reasons the federal ARPA money came out was because we knew there would be costs associated with the pandemic. Now, I don't know that it would be a straight up wash between one or the other, but on the bad side, we have this higher level of debt, but we do have compensating money. I don't know that it would be necessary to feed that back into to replace these or not, but I think there is, there's not a direct correlation, but there is a balancing that happens because of that.
Okay.
So it's not like say the pandemic is a hopefully once in a lifetime issue, and I think in the end of the day we can absorb this amount of loss given some of the support we've gotten from the ARPA money.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Oh. Any other questions? I do have a question, Jody, for these people. If they were to get their water turned back on or to apply for another contract, would they be able to get that, or do they have to pay the back amount?
They have to pay what they owe the city, and then we would include deposits and such to get water turned back on.
So just like in the past, so it's never changed?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, Jody, just hang on 1 second. I do think when you look back at what was going on almost 2 years ago, I think it's, it was tough. It was tough times. We didn't know how long things would last, how long it would be. We knew we would kind of have this problem when we allowed people to go. And I think that the good thing is all the people who, given the opportunity that they could have walked away, did pay. And many people who did come back, get right, make the money back and set up payments and stuff like that. So there are a lot of people out there who while they took advantage of the opportunity, came back and made it right. And so we shouldn't judge our customers and residents on these few. I think it could have been a lot worse. I think that people held up their end of the bargain, and many people did. And I'm sure there's a story behind all of these. We will never know, but I think all in all, it was the right thing to do to put to not do the shutoffs, and I think it's a small price to pay for that.
Go ahead, Jason.
The residents that have these bigger bills, there's still opportunities for them to do payment plans to get this bill paid off, or is it all one lump sum that they have to pay?
No, we will allow them to make payments if they want to pay any amount towards their bill. We're going to accept it for sure.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jody. And do we have a motion to approve Resolution 1851? There's a motion and a second
And this would be a motion to return it to the next available
for the
meeting.
next available meeting, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, say nay. Any opposing? Motion passes. On to action items already.
Oh, I know.
Wow.
Just,
Hey, keep it going, keep it going. You do a good job, Vice Mayor. Yeah. You do a good job, Vice Mayor.
and Vice Mayor, did you
I
want
gotta talk to Al.
So, and Vice Mayor, did you want to move that one item?
Yes,
But-
in
okay.
fact, we're gonna bump, item D, as in David, up to where A would be. So, unless there's any problems with that, does council agree? Good, thank you. Item D would be consideration for the approval of purchasing cooperative agreement between Ferguson LLC and the City of Globe for a period to expire on December 31st, 2022. The contract is in the amount not to exceed $100,000, with funds budgeted in account number 50-80-51248, water EXP pipes and fittings, and request to waive City of Globe 2-4-10A prior discussion rule. Gary, John?
Good evening, Vice Mayor and Council. Just really good, this item we bring to you tonight is, of course, for approval, just as you read. What this normally is, this entails is annually we make separate orders throughout the year, possibly 3-4 major orders. In light of the inflation, gas prices, oil prices, and everything going on in the past few months that we've been faced with, we found that, of course, the need and supply and the demand is, also what we've been battling with. Dave and Vince actually put this proposal together for you. This would be actually covering us till December, and this is actually not a one-time purchase. This is actually possibly 3, maybe 4 orders. And what this is, as you know, years ago, we were affected, drastically by the fire that hit mid-state, where they kept a lot of material on hand for us for emergencies and for the regular demand. I'm sure Arizona Water was hit just as bad. So what we've been dealing with is a lot on the procurement process. When we do our 3-quote process, we get that to procurement and the number's actually beyond our $25,000 range, so we'll bring it to council for approval. We're talking almost up to 6 weeks in process. When we get this order through, we're almost in the need of additional supplies. So what this request is covering is that whenever we're coming up, and it's not just a sole vendor. With this vendor, it's actually we approached 3 different major vendors that actually supply us throughout the year. But this is the only actual vendor that reached out and has a state procurement that worked with the process through the finance that will actually hold the price for us. So it's not going to go up any more than where, the prices that are stated with the contract. We still will utilize local vendors as needed. And as you know, we recently had a local plumbing company get up and running, but as of now, they cannot. Dave's been working with them directly, trying to get some of the little smaller supplies that we can get in to supply that need. But some of this equipment and valves and stuff is something that has got a wait time, delivery cost. So that's why we're bringing this to you now. And I'm actually glad that they thought of this. It's kind of thinking way ahead of the box, not only to hold the prices, but actually to have the supply, because we're getting to the point in the final stages of finishing our water barn. And we're going to have to stock that up. So this inventory price, and even if it was just ordering the equipment to stock our water barn, it's going to hold that price of what we're looking at in the next few months.
Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, we're also asking to waive the rule on this, simply because the company is locking into a price, and we've learned in this time, when you lock in a price, let's get it locked in on our end. Save that, and if we go another 2 weeks, I mean, who knows what kind of water leak we could have in the next 2 weeks and need to utilize this. So I don't think there's any harm in this item, in this one time the council get it approved and let them be ready to have this vendor lined up with a fixed set of pricing and an account ready to go. So this is we still did our due diligence on procurement, made sure we got good prices, but we're also expediting so the public works water people can get their parts when they need them and be timely, which they want to be, and we want them to be.
So good. Mariano?
Mr. Vice Mayor, during my career, it was always a concern when a supply chain is weakened or goes down. And we're in a worldwide situation this time around of all supply chains around the world being in jeopardy for several different reasons. So I'm really glad that our water department, John, that you're looking at this and trying to snare what we can out of this supply chain crisis. I really appreciate that. So that will help us in the future. I know across every industry, they're all bound by that. So I really appreciate you guys getting aggressive on that.
Thank you, Mariano.
Mike?
Yes, Mr. Vice Mayor. John, is this gonna be like, will the company be coming in like once a week and going through a bin system that we might have in the water barn and replacing parts or?
Councilman, not at this time. Actually, Dave and Adolph, they usually go through our stock. We're in the process where we have scanners and stuff with the new water barn. We're gonna do that whole barcode system, so the inventory will renew itself. That's what we will be initially, finally to that point. But this company actually will just be going off of the orders that we're extending out there. So that way, like I mentioned before, Dave and Adolph and the crew can still work that system where we're getting able to get some smaller stuff, supplies from the local vendors. And then, but overall, we will be still making our own orders.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Ready?
John, yeah, I think you kind of answered my question a little bit, but just want to make sure that, this contract doesn't hold us to a sole source provider, because as you know, prices change, and that'll still give you the flexibility in your team to shop around and look for those, those lesser prices if they're around. And I know the world, so
Yeah.
but it's still good to hit those other vendors and see what they have because a lot of times that, they may come up with a price that's more appealing.
Yes, Councilman. Actually, in the process of Dave and Vince doing the research, there was another vendor that was wanting to do that. They just couldn't tie it down to be, they wanted to be competitive, and most of them are, but there still also falls into the supply and demand part of it. So we're going to still also be monitoring that. And Dave actually has frequent discussions with those vendors, monitoring that. And a prime example of this is having that stock is when we started our pool project, we found that the water line needed replaced. And if it wasn't for the crew to have the valves and all the, the copper and everything that was needed, we would have had our pool project postponed because we had to redo the water line. They jumped on it within a day and a half and we're ready to go. And then this is the kind of supplies that we need to have on hand for such a, project like that.
Fantastic. I just have a comment, John. I just want to thank you and your whole team for everything that you guys do. This is important to have in place, and keep up the good work, my friend. Thank you.
Mr. Vice Mayor, there's no other conversation. I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
Motion to approve the purchase cooperative agreement between Ferguson LLC and the City of Globe for a period to extend on December 31, 2022. The contract is in the amount not to exceed $100,000 with funds budgeted in the account number 50-80-51248 water expense pipes. Is that what it is? Okay. And fittings. And request to waive City Code Rule 2-4-10A. Prior discussion will.
Second.
So I have a motion and a second. I'll call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, say nay. Any opposing? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it.
John. Dave, thanks.
Dave? Okay, then we'll bounce back to item number A. consideration of the planning and zoning recommendation of approval for the preliminary plat for Reyes Ridge, an 84-lot hillside subdivision request located on 28.5 acres of land in the R1-6 single-family zoning district. And the assessable parcel number is 102-13-028W and 102-13-028V and 102-13-031B, case number S-21-01. Dana?
Thank you very much, Vice Chairman Stapleton, Vice Mayor Stapleton. And council members, pleasure to be before you this evening. Thank you very much for considering this preliminary plat.
And Mr. Vice Mayor, Council Data, if you can, you're going to be managing your maps. The maps are kind of hard to read in the packet. So, Council, if you need to see a close up of something, just ask Dana to zoom in on anything that you may want to see. And Dana, if you can help them out with that, they have their screens in front of them.
Absolutely. I think you're all familiar with the Reyes Ridge development proposal that was annexed about 2 years ago now. Let me share my screen. I've got a PowerPoint for you that I'll go through quickly. Very good. Can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
Excellent. So I thought before we get started, just take you through the entire development process and where we're at today. And this would be consistent with any new development that required an annexation into the city. And then this is generally the same process that would likely occur on any new proposed development that gets annexed. So you see, first step obviously is for the city to incorporate that parcel of land or the property in question, which happened in this situation on May 2020. Then city's required to rezone the property. Once it is incorporated, within 6 months, ideally, we accomplished that about a year later, actually, in 2021. So we're coming up on another year since the last time you've seen this, a similar related agenda item. The rezoning that occurred in May of 2021 that the council approved was for zoning the land to an R16. That's residential single family, 6,000 square foot lot minimum zoning district, which is consistent with the abutting zoning in the city. So today we're at step number 3, which is the preliminary plat approval, and everything in red here is yet to be accomplished. So about midway through the process, but now we're strictly focused on the plat and subdividing the land, the legal process to do that. So the first step in subdividing land, and this is consistent, it's a process that's dictated by the state, actually, statutes, is to have a preliminary plat approval. So that's the initial design and lot layout, and initial infrastructure and other improvement design that the city sees. And it's ideally, it's such an involved process to develop land at times that they have these steps created to ensure that, we know we're headed in the right direction, good, being a preliminary plat and approving a preliminary plat. And then that next step is to move on to basically improvement plans and the final plat. And that's where the construction documents, if you will, the paving, grading, public utilities, sewer, water, infrastructure plans are separated out from the preliminary plat. So then the final plat just has those legal lot lines, dimensions, easements, roadway, right-of-way dedication statements, construction assurances, construction assurance bond, and mayor's signature, and so forth. So those are kind of run simultaneously. And once we have all those improvement plans to the level, the city's ready to permit. we bring the final plat forward, given the applicant's ready and request to do so. And then the final plat would be that next step after this evening. Between both items 4 and 5 would be that next step. Then once everything's approved, recorded at the county, the construction permits are issued and they can go out and start digging and moving. Well, there's some flexibility. Staff has some flexibility within that. As long as we know we're headed in that right direction, there's several different aspects involved that we can help accelerate development if needed, all the while holding to this process. So real quick, I'll just show you that zoning map I just mentioned. This is the site, all in that heavy black line. This portion of the site was already annexed in the city, so that was not a part, and it's a large wash actually. And coincidentally, it is the location where the sewer line is currently contemplated to extend. It comes either through here or through here, and then enters the property through that wash area. Then this is the larger parcel. Here is one location that you'll see in the plat that provides the primary access to the property off of Icehouse Canyon Road. And then there happens to be another finger of the property that's not proposed to be developed in any way, but it is currently utilized for access to these homes you see over here. So something will, through this platting process, will, if there's not an access easement currently established for those lots, we'll have that platted and have that access legally identified. Or the applicant has the opportunity to dedicate that land to the county to become a public right of way or something like that. So there's options, but this is the process that we go through to make sure we button up every corner of the property and have all entitlements in place. Here is the overall.
Excuse me, Dana. Mike Pastor has a question.
Then the back entrance that right now isn't platted, is that a developed road or is that?
The back entrance. So you're speaking of this area that we're about to look on the map adjacent to.
Off of Canal View Drive that isn't.
Oh, no, I can't find any record of anything. You know, through this review process, I request any documentation. So for instance, if there is an existing access easement out there that's been recorded with the county, then they just need to reference that documentation on the final plat.
Okay.
So we can tie it all together. That's the whole goal for the plat, keeping have one document with all these entitlements and one place to go if you need to learn information about this property.
Okay.
And or how it might affect other properties through its entitlements. Yes, so just a couple of minor, I'll quickly take you through the plat. It's a total of 84 lots being proposed. I think the concept plan that you saw during your rezoning was 85 lots. Here's the secondary access point coming from city property on the north. And I believe the water line is intended to also be constructed and to provide primary one side of the access for water through that corridor. And then the primary access way, this is actually proposed for emergency access. So what we'll do is likely it'll just be a tract of land for emergency vehicle access and a public utility easement for the utilities that might be within that area. Over here would be that primary access location off at Icehouse Canyon Road. The areas in green are called out as natural conservation area or basically open space. So just, basically both of them are very large washes. And then the brown color is more of at least these brown colors. We have an access easement granted up here to allow continued access for the properties. I believe it's the church at that location. And then the other open space areas are for the local amenities for the community or active open spaces for them and entry features and so forth. As I mentioned, there's significant topography changes here and wash through through this location. So it's just a nice large buffer to the properties to the south. I'm going to touch on the traffic concerns that have been expressed by the neighbors, and you probably recall from our zoning hearings, some interest in the neighbors on having some sort of traffic safety conditions implemented there. And then again, that access easement. Is there any questions on the overall before I go to the details?
No,
Very good.
thank you.
No problem. And so this is a phasing plan. The applicant is interested to first construct this green phase to get that backbone roadway, get our emergency access established and all the utilities that'll loop through that. Actually, the water line at least would loop through over to Icehouse Canyon Road. And that's for the most part some of the easier terrain to develop. So it might be more cost effective to start there. And then the yellow area would be phase 2, to be the, I guess, the next probably easiest or most conducive grading scenario to improve those lots. And then the red area you see would be the 3rd phase, and that's where we're getting into the mountain, the hillside here, and that's going to require a significant amount of excavation and grading and improvement to accomplish that. So that would be left for last. If it does develop that way, the city's subdivision code does have a provision to allow for some temporary turnarounds until the subdivision's finished. So we ensure that if an emergency vehicle goes down there or a car, they're able to turn around and get out and have that legal access to do that. This is a blow up of the grading plan. And I just identified a couple areas. Lot 1 has would have almost a 20-foot retaining wall at this corner. So there's you can see the topography there as it slopes into the wash. That location right here at this location, you can see these contours again. Those are the hillside, basically, ridge line coming into the property. At that location that I point in red, it's about a 23-foot tall retaining wall. And then we have just on the opposite corner of that lot, a 20-foot high retaining wall and so on. So just right through here is a really large cut. And then down here on lot 70, between lots 38 and 70, there's a significant grade difference of about 28 foot. At that location I showed would be almost a 28-foot retaining wall, then 25, 20, and it continues to reduce in height as we get closer to on flatter land, if you will, and it starts to daylight. One of the conditions of approval, and just to let you know, plats would traditionally have, particularly preliminary plats, a number of conditions just to make sure we're capturing anything that's outstanding that we know we still need to address in the final plat and through the improvement plan process. So you have, I think I have about 12 conditions of approval listed. And one of those is to comply with staff's red line comments. And then I elaborate on other needs that we need to see to ensure. And one of those things that we'd like to, that I stipulated, was to have staff continue to work with the applicant and look at ways that we can mitigate those heights of retaining walls and those cuts by the use of maybe stem walls for the house or floating garages or even walkouts in some situations. But there's ways to, we'd like to look at with the applicant help along to see if there's other mechanisms that we can put that cost into the houses instead of that upfront infrastructure cost of digging and constructing those large retaining walls. But overall, as you know, this property apparently was graded over 70 years ago at one point or terraced. And so there has been a bit of work done there. But getting on that west side is definitely going to be a deeper dig. And it can use additional attention, and maybe we can do some more semi-custom type of concepts to help mitigate that slope. All our roadways, the maximum slope of the roadways, I think right through here might touch 14%, where our maximum is actually 15%. Anything over 12, this is considered a hillside subdivision in our subdivision ordinance. So there's some benefits that are given to negotiate that topography. Right through here too would be the other steeper side, which is around 12 to 14%. But that's a bit, you know, that's a steeper hill, but it's well within our standards. Moving on. So the issue of Ice House Canyon Road, you can kind of see here. This is this is a county assessor map. The county has not updated their boundary yet for the city. But as you know, where you see that blue line, actually that dashed blue line is municipality, City of Globe to the north, Gila to the Gila County to the south. And then it'll also extend around and over here and capture all of Adria, the applicant's land, which was annexed 2 years ago. So if you take a look at the right-of-way here, through this section, if you can see my cursor, you see that gap between these two lot lines, right? We have lots on the south side, lot on the north side, and then a right-of-way in between. And that's how we like to do our roadways. Put them in rights-of-way, and it's city asset at that point, or in this situation, county asset. County, same principle, be it city or county. Well, when we get right just north of our project entrance, the right-of-way disappears. And effectively, these lots have that roadway, Ice House Canyon right-of-way on their property. And that continues all the way down to the southern portion here. So, you know, that's not uncommon in our area. It's not ideal either. It's something that needs to be corrected at some point by the county. It's out of our jurisdiction and out of our authority as well. This access is out of our jurisdiction and out of our authority. The county ultimately would be the permitting authority to allow for that intersection for this future development. So they've had our plans, Adria's plans for some time now, Adria being the applicant. They did respond about a month ago or less than a month ago to provide and requesting a traffic impact analysis for the intersection to evaluate the existing traffic conditions along this section of the roadway and to help design the best intersection and safest intersection possible. So that is in the county's jurisdiction and purview, and ultimately they'll be the ones to grant permit. We won't bring a final plat forward until we have a level of understanding of how that's going to be constructed. That will be part of the improvement plans and ultimately affect where those lot lines occur too along the frontage. Probably a dedication for right-of-way might be necessary there. But at this time, the applicant is to pursue a traffic impact analysis to help direct the future design for that intersection and provide that to the county as well as to the city so we can take a look at it. So that's the status. I know there's, you see an exhibit in your staff report from Ms. Misty Williams, who I believe is in the audience today. They were outspoken on the traffic concerns during the zoning process. And obviously that continues. Unfortunately, right now, we just now finally received that comment and some response from the county on this proposal. So we don't have any new information, but we will as we move forward towards that final plat and those improvement plans. So staff has a condition of approval to meet the county's requirements for traffic impact analysis and et cetera, and receive the correct encroachment permits necessary to establish that intersection prior to final plat, or and have that information available and the design completed prior to final plat approval. All right, so if you recall, public outreach was through the rezoning process. Now, subdivisions are a little different. They're more of a strictly a legislative process. If it meets our laws, it's a formality, if you will, for council's approval. So you usually need a good reason to deny. We'll talk about that. We don't have any issues, obviously, or staff hasn't presented any issues, and Planning and Zoning Commission hasn't found any significant issues to question of concern. We find that this application complies with your subdivision code and zoning ordinance, and that's what we want. Why we have those codes in place. So there is that continued traffic concern on Ice House Canyon Road. We did, based on our conversation with council at the rezoning, did notify all the property owners within 300 feet of the property, to the same property owners that were notified at the rezoning, that this would be coming forward. And again, we identify stipulation number 8 in your recommendation to approve, which is the proposed intersection with Ice House Canyon Road is Gila County jurisdiction and requires their approval and permitting. Address Gila County review comments to the county's satisfaction prior to receiving final plat approval and recordation. The Planning and Zoning Commission, again, considered this last week. We had 3 members of the public, one of which being Misty. I think she supports the idea of the project, but that traffic is a big concern as well. It was expressed as a concern with from 2 other neighbors. But nobody actually expressed opposition to the plat. So with that, we also include a condition of approval. Your subdivision ordinance code allows preliminary plats to be effective for a period of 6 months, meaning it's good for 6 months. Bring your final plat forward within that time. Clearly, that time frame is very difficult to meet in today's day and age. Typically, you would see about a year or 2 years. So we've amended or provided a condition of approval to give the applicant 2 years to work through these issues or the traffic concern and look at the grading and resubmit for staff review and improvement plan and the final plat. So with that, Planning and Zoning Commission unanimously recommends approval. Vice Mayor, council members, I'd be happy to respond to any questions.
Any questions?
Ready?
Thank you, Mr. Vice Mayor. Dana, at what point in this process does the developer determine if the developer will be the sole home builder as well as the developer of the property, or do they just sell the property and individual builders can come in and build?
Vice Mayor, Councilman Rios, it can happen at any time. I think you might be familiar with subdivision development. They can contractually do it as they wish. The applicant's in the audience, and she might be interested to give you any insight that of where they're thinking. But yeah, at any point they can come up with an agreement with somebody to carry it through, or just sell it outright and let somebody else finish the entitlements, or plat it all and then start selling in groups of lots to a builder or to individuals to build.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Any other questions? Nothing down there? No? We're good then.
Mr. Vice Mayor, I don't know if the applicant would like to speak. Or it's your option.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and Council. My name is Adria France, and my family and I own the property at Reyes Ridge. To answer your question, basically we're going to try to take it as far as we can, but we're open to always making changes, which we have been doing along the way. There's a lot of steps involved. There has been already with this type of project, so we don't want to get overwhelmed and feel like we're not moving forward, but literally each step is a victory for us. So thank you for reviewing this tonight.
Thank you.
And Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, I'd also like to ask Linda Adoneto to come forward and just 90 seconds on why this is important to the city of Globe. And I gave her 2 minutes at P&Z, but in honor of the pace, 90 seconds. Start.
Absolutely.
Keep it up. Good evening, Vice Mayor and Council. We're absolutely supportive of Adrian, her family's efforts on this subdivision. We're very thankful that this is really coming online, even though it may seem to be baby steps, it has happened in a short amount of time. So we will help her along this path as much as we can, and be there to cheerlead her on as well. So thank you for your consideration tonight.
Thank you, Linda. Misty, would you like to add to anything, or?
No,
You can fill it out.
you're okay. We can document your name and address when you step to the mic.
Misty Williams, 7743 South Ice House Canyon Road. I live directly across from where that actually, it kind of corners to my property where the proposed bridge is. Like I said, we're all for it. We need affordable housing. That traffic is crazy, which is not only going to affect Ice House Canyon. We also have to think of Jesse's Road that's going to add to the traffic. It's going to affect 6-Shooter Canyon as well as the houses past my house with traffic. We've been there since 2018, 5 accidents, basically right in front of my house because they drive out of control. And that's my main focus is the traffic on that road already. And we're going to add maybe roughly 2 vehicles per house, so 160 more cars going on that road. It's going to be a nightmare if the county does not do something. There's no increase. I know they had said that there was increased patrol. There's not. They said at Tri-City, which the fire department out by the big trees, they said there, they don't do anything about the speeders on there. I mean, I wish I could sit out there with the radar detector to actually get an accurate reading for you guys, because I'm not exaggerating. They fly by there. So that's just my concern is, yes, we need the housing, but we also need to do something about the traffic that's going to be there. And then we've got the pool coming up, like the community center, which is also going to congest that area as well. And we got the games and like all the softball, or even like when a train crosses the highway, how far back is that traffic going to be backed up on Jesse's Road? That's my concern is the traffic. And I don't know, but we do need housing. I don't know if there's another way they could get in and out, the emergency access point that they're talking about, but that's just my focus is the traffic, the safety out there. Somebody's going to get killed on that road. I hate to say it, but I know. So thank you guys.
Thank you, Misty. Paul, do you have anything to add?
No, we have one email that we want a comment. So.
This email is from Debbie Cox, and she would like council to know, it is my understanding the council is considering information from the community regarding Reyes Ridge. Is my understanding that this is a approximately 33-acre parcel of land, of which approximately 11 acres will be usable. I believe the request from Reyes Ridge is for approximately 80 homes or lots. When I spoke to Reyes Ridge individuals, I was extremely happy to hear that there would be possible tiered pricing, and it would be affordable and available housing for new persons moving to our area. As a real estate agent in Globe, Miami, I hear frequently the issues that companies like Cobra Valley Hospital, Freeport, etc., have been bringing new employees, such as doctors, nurses, miners, supervisors to Globe due to a shortage of housing, and this does impact an individual's decision about moving to our area. This is a project that I hope the council approves, as I believe the investment into this subdivision would definitely improve our ability to house people that choose to move here into our community, allow companies to hire the staff that is much needed, and persons with employment that earn enough in wages to revitalize some of our downtown area businesses. Per the prior approval by council regarding the Hill Street project, this would help revitalize our immediate areas and doesn't seem to have any more hiccups than what was discussed at the council meeting regarding Hill Street School. Perhaps this is the way to address housing issues from both ends of the spectrum. Thank you, Debbie Cox.
And Mr. Vice Mayor, to the council, just my final comment on this before you discuss. This is a process that the city of Globe has not gone through. I'm not sure in anybody's memory of this formal of a plan to build spec housing to the area. This is huge. It's not easy. I think we've done well. We have good staff walking through the process. But it's part of growing pains, and everyone who's close to or impacted or along the roadway, we have avenues for them to speak out. We hear them. You know, I think council is very receptive. Staff is very receptive to look out for that. But I want to say that this is not static change. This is an ongoing change, and if we find that if you know the traffic from the housing area and combined with the summer traffic of the pool, we will be watching out for that. We'll be looking for ways to mitigate that. We'll be working with the county to have them help. We have a better relationship with the county we've ever had before, I think, in recent memory, to be our partners and try to make this all work out. We're here, we're hearing about it. I don't think that this council, future councils, will let us do anything but stay on top of this and resolve these issues as they come up. We're appreciative of those who say this could happen, and we will watch out for that. And there will probably be a year from now or 2 years from now, we'll be dealing with something that no one even predicted, and there may be things that happen that we fix and things that didn't occur. But we're on watch, and we're going to make sure that this growth is not in a vacuum, that we adapt throughout the city, the pool, Hill Street, downtown. We're going to be watching it and make sure that it flows and mingles and is compatible with the vision of the city, and that no one's life is too disrupted by the change that is happening, because it's change for the good. And I think everybody will see that. Mr. Vice Mayor, I'm sorry, and council, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.
Mike?
Go ahead, Mariano.
I guess I'll start this off on discussion. The Hill Street project, one, was something I hadn't seen before, and two, I was able to watch our staff practice due diligence in trying to accommodate the comments and the concerns of the citizenry surrounding the project. And I believe in most cases they have come to reasonable solutions, a part of which parking was the big thing. And the developer was able to accommodate with a little bit of creative designing. With that in mind, as we approach an even bigger project, which means single-family homes, I'm not concerned with the engineering. I want our staff to be as communicative with the county as they were with their own departments internally, to come to a conclusion that was reasonable and successful with the developer. In this case, we'll have to be even more communicative with the county. Even though it's not our jurisdiction, it's not our road, we do impact the county's operations. So we have to listen very closely to what their needs are. Luckily, we have another time constraint, or lack of a time constraint, a 2-year, possibly 3-year project. I think, again, we can come to reasonable conclusions to service the needs of the county's residents as well as the needs of the developer. And I'm very excited about this. I'm very pleased that there already is a phased-in approach to the development of this plat. I think that's very important, because that gives us time, and staff will be way ahead of that curve as usual in trying to anticipate the needs of the infrastructure that has to go in there. And P&Z has already identified certain concerns with wall construction and how we can get around that. So we have time to react. I see due diligence again being practiced by our staff. I'm very confident that we can meet those things. And as we all have seen or heard tonight, there may be things we haven't considered yet, but we have time to react. So I'm very pleased with that. And this particular project, I'm very pleased that it may move forward and enhance some of the things that we're trying to address in our strategic plan, which deals with across the board housing that we need to make an attempt to help at inserting into this community's needs. So that's all I have, Mike. Thank you, sir.
Mariano. Fernando?
First of all, I want to commend you for this effort. When I look at all these drafted plans, I'm like, I remember that people went to college for a reason, and they're getting paid now. They're getting theirs back. But one of the things that I'm looking at is this Dewey Street. I would assume that comes out to the north side, the one on the very top here. Would that be able to connect to somewhere where we have any say over that? Can that actually be a street? Doesn't
Dana,
sound like
that would
it's
be a,
planned yet.
Dana, did you hear that question?
I did. Vice Mayor, Councilmember Shipley, here is an existing house that's right next to that roadway. And that roadway is currently designed to follow this property line. This is city-owned land right here, and then connect at some point up here. I do have more maps. That is Hagen Road and in the curve, and ultimately, yeah, there's access out to the north as well as right through here.
So is that something that is gonna be done, proposed, or like to be done?
So because that's a new plan, we don't have that in our current long-range transportation plans, but obviously that will be incorporated the next time the city does some sort of master transportation plan update in looking at what is the ultimate disposition of, roadways in this entire area. Probably hasn't been looked at in detail in a while. But as of now, it's just proposed for emergency access because it's required, as well as it's a utility corridor.
And Dana, Talmadge is at the microphone. He may have some responses to Mr. Vice Mayor.
Hey, council. I'm the person that went to college to make those plans. Thank you. We've worked hard on them. So yeah, I can answer actually a lot of those design questions. So we've been with Adria since the beginning and put together the whole subdivision. So that question, the plan was always to have secondary access, whether it's just for fire, like Dana said, there's still details to work out. This is preliminary plat, but we do got to get a lot of the details done at this point because, you're trying to put together this whole thing. So, yeah, that's always been the secondary access, never meant to be primary. It's like 2,000 feet of road through community center, like very narrow roads to get there. It was always meant to be just fire access, backup plan for the main entrance.
But it could be developed into a usable road.
We're talking about the one coming on the north. I mean, we're gonna build a very usable road. That's in our plans. Beyond that, the community center road's real narrow. That would be up to the city to want to develop that, widen it, and just consider the ramifications of routing a lot of traffic through a place that's meant to be walkable and like more people oriented.
I have one other question, Mr. Vice Mayor.
Go ahead, man.
Originally, when the proposal was made, I think we were at the Board of Supervisors room. Wasn't there an apartment component to this development, or is this all homes?
Go ahead and come up so everybody can hear you listening in.
Condos or apartments? Yeah.
Talmadge, don't go far.
Originally, we thought that at the base of the subdivision where Ice House Canyon meets that entrance, that we could put a higher density occupancy in that area right there, yeah. But we changed that because of the steps that were gonna be required, the variances and things that were outside of the normal R6 or R.
We'd have to create our own zoning, basically, and it just takes a lot more work to create your own zoning, whereas R16 doesn't have to do that.
Right.
Okay.
So it's all houses.
Yeah.
But it was always residential, yeah. It was just a different product.
Yeah. Okay, no problem.
Any other questions or comments?
I do like the idea of Dewey Street though, and I feel like if we could do something to help facilitate that, that'd be worth having. Because even if a third of those residents went the other direction, it would help.
Go up by the Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, I think we'll, that is phase one to get that connected. and kind of see where the gravity takes us, where the natural flow is. But we also want to be, concerned to having more population in that area, more pedestrian and kid population. So it's obviously, I think we will look at it as it grows and see what comes of it. But I don't think this is the time to make that decision, and see where the need falls.
Fair enough.
I will add on the traffic concern. I think the concern is more about speed than volume. Like those roads those are in bigger cities, those would be considered arterial roads that are meant to move traffic, whereas up behind the community center would be very small local roads. And so I think it's more about street design and designing it so that the traffic slows down than trying to say, don't bring any more traffic there, because it's bad as it is with the traffic that's there. And that's for speeding, not because of the count of cars, is my opinion.
Any other comments?
If there are none, this is a motion or an action item? I don't see a motion, so I'm gonna create one.
No, there's a motion on that. Yeah.
Amended stipulation.
Okay, I'm not seeing it.
It's right here on this first page. It's real.
Oh, you have the hard copies. Oh, okay, I see it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Recommended motion?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe you should read that.
Go ahead, Fred.
Okay, let's give it a shot. So if there's no other comments or questions, I would recommend a motion that the city council approve the preliminary plat for Reyes Ridge with the following stipulations. Conditions of approval: 1, provide street names and addressing for review and approval prior to the final plat approval. 2, approve all of this preliminary plat shall be valid for a period of 2 years from the date of council approval. Additional 1-year extension for this preliminary plat may be granted by the city council if the preliminary plat is in compliance with any future amendments to the zoning and subdivision codes at the time of the extension request. 3, I want to make sure I get this right, a 2-to-1 maximum cut of fill slopes, replace riprap drainage, swell at the top of the toe of all cut and fill slopes. All exposed cut and fill slopes shall be revegetated with desert mix hydroseed prior to the issuance of the first certificate of occupancy in the respective development phase. 4, address comments provided in the second preliminary plat review dated February 23rd, 2022 on the final plat and improvement plans. 5, common property screen walls located outside front and side street building backsets shall not exceed 6 foot in height, excluding any proportions of the wall that is retained. 6, provide a minimum of 8-foot public utility easement parallel to all right-of-ways. And 7, consider utilizing the combination of foundation stem walls, walkout basement homes, and floating garages to help minimize the amount of excavation required in the areas of the grading plan with greater than a 10-foot cut or fill.
2 more. On the next page.
Oh.
Yeah.
Done.
That's why I had you make.
Number 8. Proposed intersection with Ice House Canyon and Healy County jurisdictions and requires their approval and permitting. Address Healy County review comments to the county's satisfaction prior to receiving final plat approval and recordation. First time I've read that word. And 9, permission to grant and cut off permission to grade and construct off-site is required from the affected property owners prior to permit issuance. I believe that's it.
Is that it?
I'll second that motion.
No, maybe you wanna have me repeat that?
Yes, please.
Yeah. That's as bad as it can sound, buddy. Yeah. Good job.
Roll the tape.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Call for the vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays, say nay. Any opposing? Motion passes. Thank you, Freddie.
Yeah,
Are you winded?
thank you. That was my first read. I didn't get to practice. As you can tell.
You need a bag?
No, I'm good. A little warm, but I'm good.
Okay, we'll move on to item B.
Dana, thank you very much.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you, Dan. Thank
Cons-
you, Andrea. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Item B is consideration and possible approval of amendment number 3 to professional services contract number PS-2020-0013 with Hub Planning and Urban Design LLC to extend the term of the contract for 1 additional year and to increase the initial contract amount by an additional $48,000 for a new contract total of $60,000 to be funded from account number 10-66-51234 Economic and Community Development Contractual Services. Linda.
We're gonna keep the roll going. This recommended motion is much easier.
That's right.
Don't look at me.
So Dana has become a very important member of our development team. He's been able to keep us moving through our development pipeline at a much higher speed than we've ever been able to move before, and we have more volume coming through our department than before. So we greatly appreciate having Dana as a resource, and everything from zoning approvals to what we just approved tonight, and we have more to come in the next couple of months. We have an incredibly busy year, and without Dana on our team, we would not be able to move as quickly. So it's very exciting to have someone so professional and high level on our team, and we enjoy working with him and we learn from him. Thank you.
And, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, and say we're continuing to fund his current contract as written. There's no change in the rate. It's just a matter of more money to fund his activities. And as Linda said, they're very important to the city. It's been very helpful. It's everything's the part of that change is all this development activity.
Right.
Is a positive.
I agree wholeheartedly. Any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, if there's no questions or comments, I would request approval, make a motion to approve amendment number 3 to professional services contract number PS-2020-0013 with Hub Planning and Urban Design LLC. Hub to extend the term of the contract for 1 additional year and to increase the initial contract amount by an additional $48,000 for a new contract total of $60,000 to be funded from account number 10-66-51234 Economic and Community Development Contractual Services, and to waive section 2-4-10A. Prior discussion rule.
So I have a motion and a second. Call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nay, say nay. Any opposing? Motion passes. Thank you, Linda. Appreciate it. Item number C, consideration to approve contract agreement form number CA-2022-0011, utilizing the Cooperative Agreement of Mohave Educational Services, Cooperative Incorporated, and Kimley-Horn contract number 17T-Kimley-505 to complete the preliminary engineering report for sewer expansion in the northeast corridor in the amount of $43,219, plus a 20% owner's contingency in the amount of $8,644, for a total not to exceed $51,863, to be funded through account number 51-80-51234, wastewater contractual services. Jerry.
Vice Mayor, members of council. So, this item is to push forward into the preliminary engineering report, that we'll need, to get our funding for the northeast, sewer and to push that forward. We talked to Kimley-Horn just because we did a sewer assessment with them, here about a year ago. And so they have not only all that information, but all the information from Tri-City Sanitary and so forth as well. So our preliminary estimates were around $125,000 for this item, but because of their familiarity with it, they came in at 43. And so they had a cooperative contract that we could use with Mohave. And so with Jeff Kilner and Ray Montoya on board as part of the team, we would ask the council to move forward with this contract with them to get them going on the PER. It'd take probably 6 months to get it done. So that's my ask. And I didn't know we were paying Dana, so. Now he does a great job for us.
Any questions or comments for Jerry?
Ready? I would just like to make a comment. These are one of the things that I've championed for a number of years now, is the Northeast Corridor. So I'm really happy to see that we're taking some steps forward now in seeing that develop. I know it's a long haul, but we got to start somewhere. And I appreciate your efforts in keeping that focus about getting that Northeast Corridor going.
So, Councilman, maybe just to explain a little bit different of what we currently have with the sewer assessment and where we're going with the PER. The assessment pretty well told us what we have and what we could have if we wanted to on a general term from the 5,000 foot. The PER is a preliminary engineering study that gets more to the nuts and bolts and describes the project from an engineering standpoint, and looks at all the alternatives for the different systems, whether it be a new sewer system or connecting to our existing sewer system or something in between. But USDA, if that's the funding source we go towards, requires this PER. And in order to use any WIPA money towards a bridge towards USDA, the PER is also required. So it's a necessary step. And I was shocked when Ray come back with the price that he did. So
Pretty good price.
yeah, it is.
Can I follow up? So because of that, does that kind of lay the foundation or the framework or the roadmap to construction and what would be required to construct? And that way now you can really true up some costs on what it might take, or are there other steps ahead of that?
No, absolutely. There's another step in between. Once the PER is accepted by USDA and we have a preliminary estimate and are with WIPA, then we need to go in a design phase. And as we spoke with, who were we talking to earlier?
Greg Schwartz.
Greg Schwartz.
Our bond counsel.
Yeah, the USDA likes to send you one payment. So if it's a $5 million sewer plant, they want to send you $5 million. So a lot of times you need a bridge loan to get you to that point. And so, but the PER is justifiable reason to get that bridge loan. I mean, we can present that to a bank or anything else and say, this is what we're doing and this is our justification for that. So, you know, and, in Miami, we used the WIPA, to bridge between, the preliminary, the PER, and construction. So as soon as we took over construction, actually in that particular project, it was a monthly submittal to USDA, but on the very first submittal, they paid WIPA off. So, it's done that way, and it's easy to do, and we have a good reputation with WIPA and with USDA, so we're doing it the right way.
Mr. Vice Mayor, members of council, Jerry was in charge of this project, and he has experience in how to leverage all of the entities and all the options, and we're very lucky to have that experience to make this project timely and affordable. And then we still haven't even visited with our partners that may come in, but right now we need to have that engineering report.
Oh, write that down for my evaluation.
Better write that down. Like just a comment to the general public out there. All this activity you've seen the last 8 or 9 months is in our strategic plan. And this is where the rubber meets the road. We're starting to look at the future on the northeast border. We're looking at 2 different projects for housing, but all of it is in our strategic plan. So at council level, we know those ropes. And if you want to know where we're going, it would behoove you to download the strategic plan on the City of Globe website, and you'll see other projects that we're trying to address in the near future. So as far as I'm concerned, I see no problem with moving on actions that we have done so far this year, and I heartily advise the public to read our strategic plan. It tells you where we're going. Thank you, man.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? No? Vice Mayor?
I'd like to make a motion.
Are you able?
I'm geared up, ready to go.
It's scary, he's one of those educated people too.
I'd like to motion to approve the contract contract agreement, form number CA 2022-0011, utilizing the cooperative agreement of Mohave Educational Services Cooperative Incorporated and Kimley-Horn, contract number 17T Kimley-0510, to complete the preliminary engineering report for sewer expansion in the northeast corridor in the amount of $43,219, plus a 20% owner contingency in the amount of $8,644, for a total not to exceed $51,863, to be funded through the account number 51-80 51-234, wastewater and contractual services.
Second. Beautiful. Thank you. I have a motion and a second. Now I'll call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any say nay. Any opposing? Motion passes.
Thank you, Council, and thanks to Jeannie too for getting this item through, so.
All right, thank you, Jeannie.
Okay, so we have already done item D. Now we'll jump to E. Council will discuss and possible approve a council policy regarding future agenda items and council work groups. Paul.
Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the council, as we had talked before, this is setting, asking council to adopt a policy that kind of documents what our practice has been. In the past, there's been concern about the length of the meetings, and I don't know who that would have come from, but
Not tonight.
Hopefully.
You got the hand.
and so we and while council also wants to make sure that they have full information and are able to ask questions, and so we adopted this process of work groups where we break up and have daytime meetings of 3 members of council on the 4 different areas of oversight. It would be infrastructure, quality of life, public safety, and what's the 4th one? And finance. There you go. And so we've done that. They've worked out really well. This lays out 4 different areas. It modifies the how we do future agenda items, which many of those items end up on these work groups, but some could come back also. The main difference tonight from when we discussed this last is in order to put an item on the future agenda list, it only requires a motion and a second. It doesn't require a vote of the council because, as we know, 2 members of the council can ask something to go on the agenda at any time, and so we're making this in alignment with that. It also makes sure that we have clarity from council to staff, so there's no confusion about should it go straight back to council, should it come to the work group, and what is council's pleasure on that. So this policy helps to guide us in that. It talks about the work group best practices on what we do and how we talk about this. The most important piece is that the work groups are there to gather information, but not to make decisions. And then the third part, and I got my numbers mixed up. The third part would be the piece that we added. It's actually numbered number 4, and but it should have been the third one. Council work group informational report. We're going to add a segment of the agenda right before future agenda items, and that would be to a council work group information report to report back to council what items have been on the work groups, and so all of council can have an ability to find out in a public setting the outcomes of these work groups. And so, because when you're working with a smaller work group, communication is limited. We bring these back. It'll be on every agenda, so every 2 weeks. Every week we have a council meeting. We will review back what has happened in the work group, and I'll put that on the agenda and allow council, if they would like to find out about the information, discuss about the information, check in on the status and the timing, and so all of those items in number 4 reflect that discussion we had when we last talked about this. And then we'll have a master list also, and then the future agenda item list. Again, we'll be tracking that, so there'll be something for you to see, like where are we at on this. Some items we turn around real quick. Some we need to get some stuff together. Some of them are important, but they get bumped, and it's I think it's staff's desire to make sure that council is aware of where your request is and where is it in the queue, and make sure you have full knowledge. So that too will be included, that list of future agenda requests in the document, in the agenda as part of an item. And what was I going to say? So I think this it quantifies what we've been doing already. It builds communication, eliminates confusion, and gives council more time to interact on follow-up on some of these items. And I hope this fully meets represents the outcome of the discussion we last had on that. I believe it does, but that would be my question to you. The changes are, again, motion and second only, and then the creation of the council work group information report. It'll be a standing agenda item.
Good. Any questions or comments? We're all good? Good.
Motion to approve the council policy regarding future agenda items and council work.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any say nay? Any opposing? Motion passes. Thank you, Paul. Next we go to late agenda items.
We have none.
0. Second call to the public. Shelley?
What, we have any phones up here? I don't see anything. Email.
No?
See anything in there?
Nope, we're good. Okay, scheduling of meetings.
And no new news on scheduling meetings.
Nothing.
Do we want to talk about? We are asking, as we had talked at the last meeting, possibly we were hoping for a daytime, but a chance to address the Gorman USA question that we had talked about our participating in helping them score rank points on that. We are looking for the availability on Wednesday, March 16th at 5 o'clock because of Bill's ability to get here. Mayor had a conflict. We were talking between 2 and 5, and we was wondering if everybody's available for a 5 o'clock meeting next Wednesday, week from tomorrow, on the 16th. And we were looking at Thursday, but that's St. Patrick's Day. We were trying to get earlier, but how would that work for?
I'm fine.
Justin? Here, it would be here in council chamber. Yep.
How long do you anticipate that meeting?
An hour.
1 hour.
1 hour. And bring your flags.
It's a multiplier factor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
With Paul at the helm.
Yeah.
At what time? 5 o'clock?
5 o'clock.
5 o'clock.
Yeah. Yep.
Depends who runs it, we can get out at 5.
At this time, I'm at.
Councilman Shipley?
Are we getting paid overtime?
There'll be, you know. I think we're gonna have some really cool shamrock cookies.
You get paid?
You get paid?
I don't know. So we're good for the 16th at 5.
So, yep, the March 16th, Wednesday, 5 o'clock, 1 hour.
Council chambers.
Council chambers.
Will we be getting an invite?
Yes. Yes, you will.
Thank you.
And Bill will be here. There'll be an e-session portion and then a quick discussion and we'll move. But that helps us off on our timing and make sure that when we do get to the 22nd meeting, we can make a firm decision, getting you up to speed on the issues. And then if we need to, we can come back and visit that on the 22nd and not give you time to digest and talk and get legal advice. But thank you. And again, you as a council have been so flexible to help us. We're moving fast. It's so pleasant and helpful for you to be as flexible and allow us to infringe on your time. I'll end there, but thank you.
And while you're ahead.
Yep. Before I get the flag.
Stop. Okay. The next thing is the consideration of future agenda items.
And we're back on for that if anybody wants to add anything. So the policy's in place. Okay.
Okay, and we need to go into e-session.
We do.
We have a motion. Second. Call for the vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any nay? Any opposing? Go.
And Mr. Vice Mayor, this is for information and